But first, a huge update in the search for a killer in the low country of South Carolina. Stephen Smith was found dead in the middle of the road in 2015. No one has ever been held responsible. But now, the investigation is heating up as Stephen's mom has hired a new team to look at the case. And the first item, a second autopsy. Stephen's body was exhumed, and tonight we will speak with Dr. Michelle Dupre, who was there when it all happened. Also with us, the star witness from the Alex Murdaugh trial, Dr. Kinsey, who is part of the team investigating Stephen's death. When will this case be solved?
I'm Vinny Politan. Thank you so much for joining us tonight here on Closing Arguments. Great to have you with us. When I think of Sandy Smith, I try to think about what's going on through her mind, what she's been thinking about for all these years, looking for answers and trying to make some sense of what happened to her son, Stephen. It's obvious it hurts her. It's troubling. There's now a huge void in her life. It's a situation, unfortunately, we've seen before on court TV where a parent has to bury a child. But many times in the cases we cover on court TV, there is a trial. So someone has been caught, someone is being held responsible, and you're getting some answers. And she's not there yet. She's not there yet. It's a case that some would argue went cold. But now things are starting to heat back up. And they're starting to heat up for a bunch of reasons. And at the top of that list right now is the A-team that's working on all this. Eric Bland, Ronnie Richter, two attorneys that you've seen many times, many times on this show, are the attorneys that she's working with who are putting together a team, including investigators. And what this really does, and I've seen it many times, is put the pressure on. You need an advocate. As a victim, you can be your own advocate, but then you get some folks on your side, some folks who know their way around, some folks who know how to make some noise. Things get done. And you know, here on the show, we've covered so many unsolved cases, and it's tragic, and it is frustrating. And some of those cases you look at and you're like, well, why? Why haven't they caught the killer? Why haven't they solved the case? Why haven't they gotten any answers here? And many times it's because things have gone cold and the pressure isn't on. The spotlight's not on. That's not the case here. Not after the Murdaugh trial and all the attention that Alex Murdaugh brought to the low country of South Carolina. And this case was in the width of that whole mess that Alex Murdaugh made. And people started talking about it. And now work is getting done. Stephen Smith's body was exhumed over the weekend. And this is really a first step for taking another look, some fresh eyes, a fresh approach, and looking at it like, okay, well, what happened here? What does the evidence tell us happened? What do the forensics say? What can we take from the injuries and what happened to Stephen Smith? What story does that tell? And that's the first step. First, you've got to figure out what happened. Then you try to figure out who could be responsible. And then you try to answer why on earth would they take the life of this young man. So the body was exhumed, and the question is, what will they find? What will be the results of this? And Dr. Michelle Dupre, who was there, who's been on this show many times on this story and others, is part of the team and is overseeing the team that is doing this second autopsy and is beginning the process of trying to answer these questions. So, with that, joining me from Columbia, South Carolina, former medical examiner, retired forensic pathologist, Dr. Michelle Dupre is with us. And also joining me from Cope, South Carolina, a crime scene expert, key forensic witness in the Alex Murdaugh trial, and owner of Kinsey and Associates, LLC, Dr. Kenny Kinsey. And Dr. Kinsey, I understand you're on vacation joining us, is that true?
Off and on, Vinny, just whenever I get a chance.
Okay. All right. Dr. Michelle Dupre, I want to begin with you. And first, walk us through the process of Stephen's body being exhumed and what was done and how this process unfolded.
Okay, sure. Well, first, permits were gotten, and then the team was organized. And basically, we exhumed the body from the burial site, which was in a vault, a concrete vault. We then removed that vault with a coffin in it to a secure location and took the casket out of the vault. We did not open the casket until we got to the location in Tampa where the autopsy was done. All of this was done under the police escort of SLED. They accompanied us all the way to Florida and back, and were in fact even in the autopsy suite with us, taking photographs and documenting everything. Once we got there, we were able to actually do a complete and thorough autopsy, or second autopsy, on Stephen, because really everybody sort of that has been involved in this has done a very professional job, and we were able to do again a complete and thorough second autopsy. Once that was completed, we then moved Stephen's body back in a casket back to South Carolina and reburied him on Sunday.
So were you surprised that after all these years you were able to do that full second autopsy?
Not really. I mean, so much depends on, a lot of factors, the condition of the body, obviously.
I think Dr. Dupre's signal is freezing up
from the very
a little
beginning.
bit. Can you just repeat that, Dr. Dupre, because we missed that because your signal froze there for just a moment. And I think it's still freezing. Maybe we can get her on the phone. Maybe we can get her on the phone really quickly. That would be helpful because something's happening with the Skype signal. Dr. Kenny Kinsey also with us. So, Kenny, looking at this first step, this autopsy, the results there, what sort of questions does it raise? How will that information be used to try to piece together how he ended up on that road?
Vinny, as I've spoken with some of your cohorts, it's very, very important to my part of the investigation because it's what I use to confirm, either include or exclude certain factors. And I went back to the beginning when the autopsy was taking place. The pathologist, Dr. Dupre, the pathologist, the anthropologist, they're doing their thing. But I've got to go back and confirm, verify, and look at all the things that have remained constant and all the things that have changed. So I've been, going one direction, they're going the other direction. But now that they have those results together as a team, probably in a war room somewhere, and we will figure out the next steps.
So how much of this is driven by the information that you get from this second autopsy, in conjunction with, I guess, the first autopsy as well, taking a look at it? How much of that tells you a story about what happened to Stephen?
It tells much of the story, Vinny. It doesn't tell you the who, but it gives you characteristics of the wounds that you know a little bit better where to start looking. So it's very, very important, that information. And as I understand from Dr. Dupre, they were able to collect the evidence. They were able to do the examinations that they needed to do a complete second autopsy. And that's very, very in this situation.
And I believe we have Dr. Dupre back on the phone. So glad we're able to reconnect here. So Dr. Dupre, let's go through it from, not from all the way from the top, but from the fact of being able to do this second autopsy and get information on a scale of 0 to 10, 10 being like very, very illuminating, 0 being doesn't tell you anything. How much did this second autopsy tell you about what happened to Stephen Smith?
Actually, Vinny, I think it was close to a 10.
Really?
Really.
So, and I do understand, and because we spoke with Ronnie Richter, that SLED is involved in all of this, and you're not revealing results, et cetera, because people listening now will be like, Vinny, why don't you just ask her exactly what happened? Because I know that they're working with SLED, and SLED doesn't want that information made public right now. So I do understand that. So we're going to talk more about the process and working this whole thing through. So were there any tests or things that you wanted to do that you weren't able to do?
No, actually, Vinny, we were able to do everything we needed to do, and again, it was almost as if we were doing the first autopsy. The only thing that we did not do was toxicology, and we have the results from the first autopsy on that, so they weren't needed. But we did everything else that you would expect in a regular autopsy. We were able to do.
So, based upon the work that you all did, and obviously SLED was there, the law enforcement division down in South Carolina. So how is this relationship going to continue from your perspective?
Well, I think it's working very well. Again, they have been wonderful in their support, and we are doing everything we can to support them. They are the lead on this. They are the investigative arm, and we're here to help and support them any way we can, and it's working very well.
So, Dr. Kenny Kinsey, let me ask you, from your perspective and your role working with this team that's been put together, this private team, right? But you're very familiar with the folks from SLED, obviously. So how is that relationship going to work from your perspective?
Vinny, it's a marvelous relationship. There are certain things that SLED can't tell me because of my capacity now, and I understand that. But we confer and we swap ideas, and it's a great relationship. Those men and women there, if they can pass it on, they will. But there is information that they don't need to tell us on our side that might jeopardize any prosecution of anything down the road. But we've got a wonderful relationship, and we know everyone on this team knows that if we come across something that's going to aid SLED for any type of prosecution, we're going to relay that information to them immediately. So it's a great relationship, and I've had no issues whatsoever.
Dr. Dupre, let me ask you, what was their reaction when you were able to deliver the type of results that you are telling me tonight that you were able to deliver? What was the reaction of the folks over at SLED?
Well, I think everybody was pretty much ecstatic. I mean, we did not know what to expect. Again, the body had been buried for almost 8 years, and you never know quite what to expect and how much real information you're going to gather from that. And so we were very pleased, and I think they were as well.
So is there any more work that you're going to do from your end at this point, Dr. Dupre?
Well, I am, again, working with the whole team and sort of, as Eric says, quarterbacking the forensics part of this, including the autopsy, working with Kenny and others. So, yeah, we'll be involved until this is resolved.
So, Kenny Kinsey, let me ask you about the level of information you have and how much more you think you need to learn. How much of this is going to be further investigation versus evaluation of information that you already have?
Well, getting us off the ground is going to be that information we already have, Vinny. This isn't a blood spatter case. This isn't going to be solved on a footwear or a tire track. This is bringing up enough information, as mentioned, to put the heat on someone out there. But to put the heat on them first, we got to have facts. We got to verify. We trust, like Ronald Reagan said, trust but verify. We've got to verify it. We're well on our way to doing that with the wonderful doctors and the rest of the team, and we're getting through that process now, and hopefully it'll put enough pressure on someone to come forward. Somebody's got something eating them, and when they realize that this team has got accurate information, it's going to put heat on someone. So that's the whole purpose, as far as I'm concerned, to be accurate and to put good information out there and try to get some answers for the Smith family.
So, Dr. Dupre, let me ask you again, I know you can't reveal specifics, but in terms of figuring out what happened to Stephen Smith, were you able to determine whether he was killed on that roadway? Were you able to tell how he was killed?
Benny, those are all, very good questions, and those answers will be forthcoming. We're not going to talk about those tonight. We were able to, again, get the information that we needed, and really this is sort of now in the hands of the investigators. That's where a lot of this key information is going to lie. And as Kenny said, we're hoping that somebody who does know something, because somebody does, will come forward and sort of fill in a few of the missing pieces that we don't have.
I'm trying, Dr. Dupre. I was going to try, right?
Can't blame a guy for trying, absolutely.
I'm working the edges a little bit. I'm working the edges, just trying to get a little more. So I'm very optimistic here. So, Kenny, have you spent any time with Sandy Smith since the autopsy?
No, sir, I haven't. I look forward to those days when we can give her some results, but I haven't, Vinny.
Dr. Dupre, you were with her. We saw in the video at the site that you were there. How would you describe her reaction? And obviously, I would think the information you have, you're able to tell her, right? Are you able to reveal what you're telling SLED? Can you reveal it to Sandy?
That's really, not sort of what I'm supposed to do. If SLED is revealing anything to her, that's up to SLED.
Okay.
But I will tell you this. I do want to say this. I was pleased, and I admire Sandy. She was not sad at this cemetery when we disinterred his body. She was happy. She was really happy that this was being done, and that made my day.
Yeah, well, and I'm so glad you all are part of this team, and I'm really glad that the folks have been hired, as sort of this private team working hand in hand with SLED, allowing them to take the lead, but supporting them gives me a lot of hope as well, and I know Sandy's filled with hope. All right, Dr. Kenny Kinsey, Dr. Michelle Dupre staying with us. We're going to talk some more about this. I want to go through some of the information that came out from the original investigation, plus coming up next hour.
In Colorado Springs, Colorado, the evil stepmom murder trial. Letitia Stalk accused of the brutal murder of her stepson Gannon. Tonight, we hear from Gannon's father as he confronts his son's killer.
Right, and I'm telling you right now, you want immunity, you want this immunity because there's no dude. But there's no dude, Tisha. Prove me wrong.
Quiet Colorado community rocked by a tragedy.
11-year-old Gannon Stout disappeared from his home.
Gannon's stepmother, Letitia Stout, is charged with his murder.
Stout allegedly killed her stepson and then drove his body across the country.
Now, the jury will decide her fate.
She has a tough road ahead.
As a family searches for justice.
She will pay 100% for this heinous thing she done.
The stepmother murder trial. Live coverage continues Friday morning, only on 14.
Personal loan.
So Dr. Kinsey, now 8 years later, because the original autopsy concluded that this was likely caused by a hit and run, or was caused by a hit and run accident on the road because the body was found in the road, according to the medical examiner at the time, they're going to conduct a second autopsy. What factors are they going to be specifically targeting or looking into that will tell them something more?
They're going to look at factors other than what was obvious. They're gonna redo this autopsy and maybe they'll look at it with another lens from a different direction. Let me look at it as this, and if it was actual car versus pedestrian, let's work till we get to that answer instead of maybe starting with that answer.
Welcome back to Closing Arguments and our coverage of the investigation into the death of Stephen Smith. It happened back in 2015. His body's found in the middle of this country road, lightly traveled country road, by the way, and was killed at some point in the darkness. And originally considered a hit and run, although if it was a hit and run, the person who struck him committed a crime, has never been caught, never been arrested. If it was something else, you know, that person clearly has not been caught either. So Eric Bland, Ronnie Richter, the attorneys on the show all the time, put together a team that include two of our guests who are on tonight, who've been on the show before as well, Dr. Michelle Dupre and Dr. Kenny Kinsey. I want to put up on the screen something from the notes from the original investigation, and I found this really interesting. This is from one of the troopers' notes. I arrived at the scene at approximately 6:25 hours and observed a white male laying in the roadway on the center line with head trauma to the right side above his brow. I spoke with Hampton County Coroner Ernie Washington, who immediately advised me it was a homicide. He pointed out the wound to be a gunshot wound and showed me the entry point. Assistant Coroner Kelly Green then began to show me photographs they took, again pointing to the entry point to the head and also a defensive wound to the hand. Dr. Michelle Dupree is with us. She's joining us by phone. Dr. Dupree, how difficult at a scene like this how difficult is it to tell the difference between a gunshot wound and something else? Because in this case, it seems it was something else.
Well, Vinny, it can actually be rather difficult. I've had EMS and even emergency room doctors mistake a wound for a gunshot wound when it was not. Remember, this is in the middle of the night. There are no street lights. This is very dark. It is a rather bloody scene. So it's not unusual to make a mistake like that. The autopsy, and that's why we do autopsies, to find out, you know, what was the cause of death. And it was determined that there was no gunshot.
Dr. Kenny Kinsey, what are your thoughts about the significance of a couple of these things? The head trauma to the right side above his brow and defensive wounds to the hand. What story does that tell you, Dr. Kinsey?
Vinny, you have to look at it and take it as one other piece of evidence. If you think about what Dr. Dupree just said about, you know, a lot of emergency room physicians mistake some of those head wounds for gunshot wounds, well, there are also other things that cause injuries to extremities. And I wouldn't discount it, include it, or exclude it until we've got a full medical workup and the pathologist tells me that.
I want to also show you some notes from a trooper who spoke with the doctor who performed the first autopsy, Dr. Erin Presnell. She said that it was not a gunshot wound in her opinion, and that since the body was found in the roadway, she could only theorize that it had to be a motor vehicle that caused the death. I asked her if he had any other injuries, and she stated only a partially dislocated right shoulder. I asked her if she found any glass fragments or any other evidence of a motor vehicle, and she stated no. Then I asked her why she was ruling it as a motor vehicle accident and what she thought caused the head injury. She told me it was not her job to figure that out. It was mine. Dr. Dupree, let me start here. Did you all find more than the original doctor found in the autopsy? Without getting specific about what was or wasn't found, were there more things that were discovered second time around?
A good try, Vinny, again. And without discussing the specifics of what was or was not found, we found what we needed to find in the second autopsy. And, you know, that isn't saying that the original results were right or wrong or that they matched what we found. We're just not talking about those results at this time.
Now, the other part of this that a lot of people were wondering about, she said, it's not my job to figure that out. It's the trooper's job to figure it out, the investigator. How do you see the role of the person who is performing the autopsy versus the investigators? How are those roles defined from your perspective?
Well, the pathologist's job is to determine the cause and the manner of death. And sometimes we cannot determine the manner. There are only 5 causes internationally: homicide, suicide, accident, natural, or undetermined. And she ruled this as undetermined, which is appropriate. The rest of this, is, again, that's where the investigation becomes so important. You have to look at the totality of circumstances surrounding any death and not just focus tunnel vision on one thing or the other. And we also look at something called pertinent negatives. And when we find something or we don't find something that we expect to find, that can tell us an awfully lot.
Dr. Kenny Kinsey, how do you see that relationship between the doctors who are doing the autopsy and the investigators who are investigating? Obviously, both want to provide answers, but who answers what?
Vinny, I found in my career it's always been a great partnership. I've never had a problem communicating. That doesn't mean we're always going to agree, but I've never had a problem communicating with pathologists in 3 separate states. And I think it's teamwork, and I truly believe the pathologist has their crime scene brought to them. And of course, we go out to the scene. That's the big difference. But I do believe one complements the other, and I think one draws off of the other. There's certain information that I'm going to need from Dr. Dupre if she's the attending pathologist. And certainly there's a lot of information she's going to need from me. So, I don't get to sign the death certificate, but I believe the investigation part has a lot to do with it, and you've got to work in that partnership or you're not going to do the victim any justice. And I don't know what happened here. I don't know. I also read some of the documentation and that kind of thing. I myself, as an investigator, would not have left it at that. I would have given it time to calm down, and I think I would have made another attempt to speak with whoever that doctor was.
Dr. Kenny Kinsey, Dr. Michelle Dupre, so glad you guys again are on this team. We appreciate your time tonight, and we'll speak to you again hopefully soon in the future.
Thanks, Annie.